Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to my channel. My channel up until this point has been a hodgepodge of nonsense, sort of focused around things that might help people. And so today is my inaugural video of a series that I'm going to do of reviewing and discussing hi-fi equipment. And this one, this guy right here, is called the Nobsound something. I think it's Nobsound. It might be Nobsound. No one knows. This is made in China, and China, one of the things that they excel at, other than making really cheap things, is coming up with really bad names. And so if it's Nobsound, it's horrible, because that implies that it's for noobs, as people are referred to when they're getting into something, or if it's knob sound, that's not great either. Maybe it's because it has these gigantic knobs. I doubt it, but who knows. So this is the Nobsound something. It doesn't have a name, doesn't have a model number. It doesn't even say knob or noob sound anywhere on here, including the back shows nothing at all. So what is it? Well, it is a preamp. And what do preamps do? Well, we should probably talk about the different topologies of amplifiers. So there's two topologies of amplifiers. One is what is colloquially called separates, which is a preamplifier and a power amplifier in two different containers or boxes. The other topology, which is far more ubiquitous, is called an integrated amplifier, which is a preamplifier, which is what this is, and a power amplifier put into the same box. So throughout my audio file, and I kind of shudder at calling it that because I don't know that I am an audiophile, journey. I've always had integrated amplifiers, and I purchased this because the integrated amplifier I had when I bought this had only one input. Well, it had two. It had an RCA input and a DAC. And that amplifier was called the Musical Paradise MP303, which was a integrated amplifier with a passive preamp and it was a hybrid Class D power amp. So what does all that mean? So that means we should probably talk about preamps. So preamps, they come in sort of two flavors. An active preamp, which is what this is, and a passive preamp. Well, maybe we've gotten ahead of ourselves. So what is a preamp? So a preamp is something that sort of aggregates your sources and allows you to switch between them, sending the signal to a power amplifier. One of the other features is it has, which is what this is the volume knob, the volume noob. Boop, boop, boop. It'll give you a volume knob so you can control the amount of power. Because if you didn't have a volume knob and you just select your source, it would be at 100% to your power amp, which would be really loud and really annoying. And then, so on the back of this guy, this is where you have your source inputs. You have 4 source inputs, and then this is the output. You would know that if it was labeled, but it's not. Why? Who knows? That would have cost them 15 cents to do, so they can't waste money on that. So then the other thing that it may or may not do is it might actually amplify the signal. A passive will just pass through the signal. It might have a buffer, which just maintains the same level, so you don't have any degradation. Oh, I broke my rectifier tube. No. Let's see. I bent the pins. Can you see that? Oh no. We can bend them back. It's not a problem. I'll deal with that later. Where was I? Oh,
2,000 years later.
Oh, passive. So passive does not amplify anything. Passive, whereas an active will add some amount of gain to the signal before sending it to the power amplifier. So this is not a passive amplifier. This is a active pacifier, amplifier, preamplifier. So I bought this because I wanted more inputs. I really had no kind of hope that it was going to sound good, because for the price of this is $300 on Amazon. $300 on Amazon. And I sort of am of the believer if you mostly get what you pay for in life. However, that doesn't always equate in hi-fi. And so I got this sucker and I plugged it in. And the first thing I did, because tube gear tends to be noisy, is I turned this guy up really loud to see at what point would I hear some white noise from the tubes. And it was pretty high. I would have to get it to like there before I started hearing some white noise out of it. So I was kind of shocked. I expected this to be pretty noisy, but it wasn't. It was pretty good. So I was shocked when I actually played music through it and heard what I would have described as a better sound. Now, this is being the only preamplifier I have nothing to compare it to. I've never had a different preamplifier to even, oh, I had this preamplifier. I don't have it to AB, but this thing sounds better. I have no ability to do that, so don't let me convince you into it. This is I cannot say with any certainty if this is the best, the worst, or the okayest sort of sounding preamplifier. All I know is it sounded good. It had an improvement over the stock sound with the Musical Paradise. And honestly, for the price of $300 in hi-fi, that's like practically free. I got it used, so that was even more practically free. So let's talk about some of the other features of the amplifier. So it's tube. These are preamplifier tubes. This is a 12AX7, well, both of these guys. This is your input stage. The gain stage is this, and then it goes here. And then these, the one that I bent, this guy, so sad, and then that guy are rectifier tubes. I'm not going to go into what rectifier tubes do. Rectifier tubes in a preamp are slightly rare. Normally they would use like a solid state rectification. But this one does not. These use these 6 C4, I think? C4? What is it? 6Z4 tubes. Oh, these are 12AU7s. I don't think I mentioned that. So these type of tubes are ubiquitous. They're all over the place. They're inexpensive. They're in 98% of guitar amps ever made. Tube guitar amps, not all solid state amps wouldn't necessarily have them. So they're all over the place. They're inexpensive relative to other tubes. These, I have to warn you, these 6, what did I say? I already forgot. 6Z4s. These are the Russian type. So you can get the Russian type that's made also in China. They have a new old stock version of this. That's a bigger tube. It has like a Coke bottle shape. Has a completely different base. So it's not compatible. If you get this and you see, oh, I can get some new old stock tubes, super cheap, not going to fit. Do not buy them. Get the Russian ones. So in terms of maintenance with the tubes, these 4 tubes, these 2 sets of tubes are going to last almost forever. Virtually. It's not to say that they can't go bad, but they almost never go bad. For example, these two tubes in here right now are mullered. Mullered? Can you see that? I don't know. This camera doesn't necessarily autofocus. These are 40-year-old tubes that I got out of a 40-year-old high-watt guitar amplifier that I used to own. And I've been using them in different things for the past, I don't know, 20 years, let's say. And they still work great. They still work. The rectifier tubes will be consumed by the usage, and so you should have at least one set of spares of those. I would probably recommend the Russian over the Chinese, based on the fact that Russian tubes tend to be constructed a little bit more. Sonically, Chinese tubes sound fine. And in fact, a lot of times Chinese tubes sound great. Chinese power tubes sound great. They're inexpensive. The one thing that you might have an issue with Chinese tubes are their life expectancy. Like, they will go bad way quicker than the Russian-made tubes, or obviously much quicker than new old stock tubes from 50 years ago. But they sound great. The preamp tubes are really actually great for hi-fi. They tend to be a really balanced sounding tube. The reason I have these mullards in here is they kind of smoothed out some of the treble on one of my amplifiers that I was using this with. So that's why those are in here. Again, these are the real deals. These aren't the Sovtech Electro-Harmonics reflector reissues. These are ones from when Mullard was a real company. So aesthetically, this is you're either going to like this DIY sort of steampunk aesthetic, or you're going to hate it. I am somewhat ambivalent about it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But it's okay. These knobs seem to upset people on the internet. I was going to change them out, but then I couldn't really find anything that looked better, so I'm just keeping it. So in terms of build quality, I sort of assumed that these parts that are wood were actually like compressed cardboard with like a sticker on it. It turns out that they look like they're actually real. It's real wood, which is impressive. What's really impressive with this for the $300 is how well made this thing is. Like, this is a work of art. All this point-to-point construction over here is fantastic. It is very clean, really nice angles on that. You have a PC board here for the power supply. I don't love it, but I'm fine with it. I understand why they're doing it, because you have a lot of these electrolytic capacitors that you have to connect over here by the power transformer. That's fine. The switches seem fine. This seems fine. Supposedly this is Alps. I don't believe it. It's definitely not a blue velvet. It feels okay. In terms of the components, these are WEMA, supposedly. With Chinese stuff, you never know. They do tend to counterfeit stuff. This seems fine. And again, the best part about this is if something goes bad on here, it's super easy to fix. Like, anyone who has a soldering iron can fix this. Like, it's super straightforward. Some of the things that aren't so great about the construction of this, the chassis here is made of a really thin, almost like sheet metal, that flexes when you pull the tubes in and out. So that's not great. And potentially the worst thing about this in terms of construction is the RCA inputs on the back. These are crazy to me. Some of them are super loose and they won't even hold the RCA cables on. Some of them are super tight and you can't even get them on. Some of them are fine. So I'm going to end up replacing these. And I'm hoping that the ones that I buy I can just screw into the ground, if you can see where they're grounded. If I have to replace all the grounds, That's going to be a pain in the butt. If I can just get away with replacing the input side, my life will be a lot easier. That's the only thing I hate. You have your normal power input that, that's ubiquitous. That's easy enough. There's a fuse in here. That's the only fuse in here. Then this is the bottom. This is also like a sheet metal sort of. It gets the job done. It's not going to win any awards for beauty standards, obviously. But either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And if you love it, you'll buy it. And if you hate it, you'll find something else. I've seen a version out there. I haven't seen it on Amazon, but I haven't exactly looked for it. That looks like more of a modern piece of stereo equipment. That one does not have the point-to-point wiring. That one is all PCB on the bottom or on the inside. I guess it'd be on the bottom because you're not going to take off the top probably. But so would I recommend buying this? For $300 from Amazon, I would absolutely buy it. I mean, I don't know that you can get a better deal on a tube preamp than this. This is an insane price for what you're getting. I mean, the tubes alone, these tubes, the 12AU7s, the 12AX7s, those alone are going to cost you $15. So you got $60 in those tubes. I don't know what the going rate on those are. It's just, and it sounds good. I have no complaints. For what I paid for it, it's an amazing deal. So if you see it on Amazon, grab it. So this version is I'm going to butcher this. Sorry, Japanese people. It's the Shiguru Wada circuit, which God knows what the heck that means. I've kind of tried to research this a little bit, and there's very little information on that circuit, but supposedly that's what it is. There's another one that only has 3 preamp tubes. I don't know if it has rectifier tubes. I don't remember. And that's based on a Marantz 7 preamp, I believe. I've used this with a CD player. I've used this with a turntable. I've used this with a crappy Bluetooth streaming device, and it sounds great with all of it. If you can get past a look, if you're looking to get into a tube preamp, you're not looking to break the bank, try it. If you get it, you don't like the sound. To me, the sound of the Chinese tubes were fine. Again, I only put that in there. I've rolled a couple of different tubes in there. The Chinese sounded fine compared to what I tried. I tried the Mullard reissues. I tried the Svetlana reissues, I think. These, and then the Chinese. They're all going to sound a little bit different. But the only ones that really sounded better, I would say, would be these. But these are so expensive now that you're not going to buy these to put into this thing, I wouldn't imagine. So that's about it. There's going to be a lot more content coming with audio reviews. I'm going to do some reviews on phono preamps. I'm going to do some reviews on some amplifiers, including the Musical Paradise MP303 that I previously mentioned. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, like and subscribe and comment if you have questions. I'll answer any question. If you think I have an annoying voice, I agree. If you're wondering why my ugly mug isn't in this video, because hearing my annoying voice is bad enough, you don't also have to see my ugly mug. There you go. All right. Till next time.